Throw it away right now. We can't eat this. What's the matter all of a sudden? Dad made this for us, you know? Look inside the cake. Surprised by my daughter's sudden outburst, I did as told and couldn't believe my eyes. You see. Shocked by what my daughter revealed, I immediately threw the cake in the trash and, together with my daughter, hurriedly tried to flee the house. My name is Julia, a 36-year-old housewife. My husband, Derek, is a year older than me at 37. We met through a mutual acquaintance 10 years ago. We both loved cooking, which brought us closer, and we started dating shortly after. 2 years later, we got married. And 2 years after that, our daughter Ava was born, and we were living happily. However, gradually after the birth of our daughter, our marital relationship began to deteriorate. After getting married, I realized my husband always wanted to be the center of attention, like a child. So, as I increasingly prioritized our daughter, my husband became more and more irritable day by day. As my daughter grew older, my husband often came home late from work. He often went out on his days off, and the days he spent at home became fewer. Of course, he didn't help with childcare at all, and we hardly ever went out as a family. Conversations between us became just like business communications. Like, I don't need dinner today. With time, our daughter reached the first grade in elementary school. I knew I couldn't continue like this for the sake of my daughter, but I didn't know what to do. One day, as usual, my husband was out on a weekend work shift. While I was leisurely spending time with my daughter, our neighbor came over and shared some fruits with us. I received a variety of fruits, including oranges, apples, and especially a lot of bananas. Thinking they'd spoil if not consumed quickly, I decided to make them into juice. I think I'll freeze the other fruits and use them for Ava's birthday cake. Yeah, my birthday is next month. Don't forget, okay? I won't forget absolutely. While having this conversation, I blended bananas, milk, and ice in a mixer along with my daughter. It looks delicious. Let's dig in. As I sipped the juice, watching my cheerful daughter, she suddenly frowned. What's wrong? It's itchy. Saying this, Ava began to scratch herself all over. Upon closer look, her skin was red and covered in rashes. While I was in shock over her sudden condition, she threw up. I hastily called an ambulance, and Ava was taken to the hospital. We arrived quickly, and thanks to the prompt treatment by the doctor, Ava's condition stabilized, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. After some basic tests, it was determined that Ava had a fruit allergy. Although I wasn't aware of it, it seems there are immediate and delayed types of allergies. Ava apparently had the immediate type, showing symptoms right away. The delayed type can manifest symptoms hours or days later, often presenting as mild conditions like skin irritation or fatigue, which I hadn't noticed before. Now that I think about it, I often felt unwell the day after eating fruits. When Ava was a baby, I gave her various fruits in small amounts to check for allergies. But recently, since this spring, she has been having a runny nose more frequently. According to the doctor, Ava might have developed hay fever, and consuming fruits in that state might have triggered her fruit allergy. When I asked if there was a connection with hay fever, I was told that the allergic structures were similar. Given the severity of Ava's symptoms, it was recommended that she immediately undergo an allergy test and stay in the hospital for a day. After completing the necessary procedures and resting in the patient room, I contacted my husband, Derek. An hour later, Derek rushed in, panting, and peered into Ava's face with a worried look, asking, "Ava, are you okay?" Seeing Derek in such a state, I felt something was off, but he immediately asked for details. So I was too preoccupied explaining the entire situation to dwell on it, momentarily forgetting about the unease I felt. However, when I told him about the upcoming hospital stay and asked him to bring some change of clothes, I realized what was amiss. "Didn't you go to work in a suit this morning? Why are you in casual clothes now?" "Huh? Oh, I went home once and changed," Derek replied, looking a bit flustered, which made me suspicious. However, before I could ask further, a doctor called him. Apparently, the doctor suggested Derek should be checked out as well. But it seems he didn't have any allergies. After our allergy tests, all that was left was to wait for the results in 5 days. Before discharge, the doctor cautioned us. A second exposure to a food allergen can cause a stronger reaction, possibly leading to anaphylactic shock. It's very dangerous, so please be careful. Taking this to heart, Ava and I resolved to be extra cautious about consuming fruits. 5 days later, the results confirmed that both Ava and I tested positive for many fruits and certain plants like ragweed and barnyard grass, which cause hay fever. While I was worried for myself, thinking about my daughter having to watch her diet for the rest of her life truly hurt. We should avoid fruits in the birthday cake. Yeah. Instead, let's have it with lots of whipped cream. Not knowing what to say to my downtrodden daughter, who realized she couldn't enjoy her favorite fruits anymore, Derek chipped in. "Ava, how about making cookies with Dad now?" Cookies. At Derek's suggestion, Ava's eyes lit up, and her spirits lifted. Watching the two of them enthusiastically start making cookies, I was taken aback and teary-eyed with joy. I never expected Derek to be the one to cheer up Ava. Wonders will never cease, I thought. Ever since, Derek has been very attentive to Ava, even offering to help with allergy precautions. It's surprising because he used to be indifferent when Ava or I fell sick. But now he's been very supportive, almost like a different person. Maybe he realized how precious Ava is after this incident. I swelled with hope, thinking that perhaps our marital relationship might continue to improve. However, reality wasn't so sweet. His kindness lasted only about a week after the hospital discharge. Derek went back to his old habits of frequent overtime and working on weekends, rarely being at home. When he was home, he was often laughing to himself while looking at his phone. Despite supposedly working non-stop, he didn't seem exhausted. And he even took his phone to the bathroom. This behavior raised suspicions in my mind. The next day, I immediately headed to a private investigation agency and requested a background check on Derek. I suspected he might be having an affair. They told me the investigation would take about 2 weeks, and that the results would be sent to my smartphone. Hoping that my suspicions were wrong, I headed back home. Time flew by, and it was the day before Ava's birthday. Although Derek had to work that day, he came home earlier than usual. "I'll make Ava's birthday cake tomorrow." I was taken aback by his sudden offer. While it was a kind gesture, the fact that I had hired investigators to look into his activities made my feelings complex. But I knew Ava would be thrilled. With that thought, I decided to keep my complex feelings in check, at least for tomorrow. "Thank you. Then, I'll leave the cake to you. I'll take care of the main meal." "Sure, I'll leave that part to you. Oh, and I think you already know this, but please make sure not to include any fruits." "I know. I'll go to bed now to be ready for tomorrow." "Okay. Good night." Derek headed to his room, while I went to the kitchen to prepare for tomorrow's feast. An hour later, after finishing my preparations, I passed by Derek's room and heard him talking to someone on the phone. I had assumed he received a sudden work call, but I never dreamt that this would later be connected to a major incident. Morning came, and Ava turned 7 years old. "Happy birthday." As I cheerfully greeted my waking daughter, I noticed she seemed down. When I asked her what was wrong, she didn't tell me, only replying with, "It's nothing." This made me worry. Derek, however, seemed oblivious to Ava's mood and was excitedly making her birthday cake since morning. As soon as the cake was done and I was setting plates to serve it, Derek's phone rang. "Sorry, it's a work call. Go ahead and eat without me." "All right." I watched Derek go to his room and then began to serve the cake. As I was about to slice the cake, Ava started to scrape it with her fork. "What are you doing?" Ava's face was dead serious. It didn't seem like she was just playing around, which confused me. Then she found something, her eyes widened, and she raised her voice. I knew it. "I don't want this cake. Throw it away now." "What's gotten into you?" "Your dad made this especially for you." Still puzzled, I pressed on, and with a grave expression, Ava pointed at the cake. "Look inside." When following her instructions, I found a lot of finely chopped fruits in it. The fruits were coated with white cream, making them almost imperceptible if eaten normally. "Why?" As I muttered in confusion, Ava was about to reveal a shocking truth. "I overheard Dad talking on the phone last night. He said, just as you instructed, I'll put in lots of fruits and eliminate them." Stunned and at a loss for words, I suddenly heard the door to Derek's room open. Ava and I exchanged glances, hastily threw the cake in the trash, and fled from the house. We headed straight to the taxi stand, aiming to go to my parents' house. During our escape, Derek called multiple times, but I ignored him. As we moved, I explained the situation to my parents via email. It turned out they were on their way to our house to deliver Ava's birthday present. By sheer coincidence, we met up with my parents nearby and decided to go to their house in their car. "Dad, Mom, I'm so sorry for all this." "It's okay, don't worry about it." My father's comforting words nearly brought tears to my eyes. But I couldn't cry in front of Ava. Holding back my tears, I got in the car and noticed I'd received investigation results from a detective agency. In a panic, I checked and found a report stating Derek had met with Emily after work and on holidays. There were also pictures proving it. This confirmed that Derek had been cheating. I knew it. As I unintentionally muttered this, my curious father peered at my phone, witnessing the photographic evidence of Derek's infidelity. "What's this?" "Change of plans. Head to Julia's house now." "Wait, why?" "Our daughter and granddaughter have been put in danger. And on top of that, there's this affair. We can't just sit quietly." My father was furious, looking almost demonic in his anger. Driven by his fervor, my mother, who was driving, headed to our house. Upon arriving and entering, Derek rushed to the entrance, his face quickly turning to one of confusion. "Why are my in-laws here?" "That doesn't matter right now." "Care to explain this?" I confronted my bewildered husband with the evidence of his affair. He stared wide-eyed, shaking his head vehemently in denial. "No, that woman is just a colleague from work. We're just close, but I haven't cheated on you." "What about this cake?" "I told you not to put any fruits in it, didn't I?" I thought, if it was wrapped in cream, it would be okay. Before I could react, my father, who had reached his limit of patience, grabbed Derek and shouted at him. "How can you still say such things at this point? Have some shame. You've got it all wrong. If you're not going to talk, I'm calling the police right now." At that, Derek's face turned pale, and he seemed to give in, starting to spill everything. He confessed he'd been cheating for about 4 years and had been asked for a divorce all along. Derek wanted a divorce too, but while contemplating how to do it without paying compensation. He apparently shared the story of our allergies with Emily, his mistress. This is when she suggested the unthinkable. Just trigger the allergy one more time and eliminate them. You won't have to pay child support and you'll even get the insurance money. To execute this plan, Derek had been pretending to care for us so as not to arouse suspicion. I felt deeply betrayed. How could he even think of harming our daughter for such a reason? You're the worst. You're not fit to be a father. It's not like that. I only did as I was told. I never wanted any of this to happen. Enough with the excuses. Don't lose face in front of Ava any further. Mentioning our daughter's name made Derek stop his defense and collapse on the spot. I immediately called the police, and Ava and I watched him taken away. On your birthday, of all days. I'm so sorry. I just wanted the cake with lots of whipped cream that you said you'd make for me. Okay. I'll make you a proper cake. We then headed to the police station for questioning. The divorce was finalized subsequently. Both of us appointed lawyers and negotiations took place. During the negotiations, my ex-husband's lawyer suggested a settlement. At first, I was resistant, but I eventually agreed, wanting to sever ties with my ex-husband as quickly as possible. After negotiations, the settlement amount was decided to be $54,000. My former in-laws, feeling responsible for having raised him that way, paid the amount in full. The settlement was reached and my ex-husband apologized. He had been detained on charges of attempted murder but was released on probation. It seems that if the victim is apologized to and a settlement is reached, the sentence can sometimes be lighter. I have no intention of forgiving my ex-husband. But thinking of our daughter, I convinced myself to accept that this was for the best. Emily, the woman with whom he had the affair, was charged with instructing my ex-husband in this incident. She showed no remorse and was reportedly sentenced to prison. I couldn't help but wish she would serve as long a sentence as possible. A month flew by since Ava's birthday, and my former in-laws visited again to show their sincerity and regret. When they saw us, they hugged us and rubbed us, barely able to hold back their sobs, and whispered that they were sorry. We held no resentment towards them, so we comforted them. According to them, my ex-husband is now in a pre-release center and is under constant watch. I can only hope he is feeling some remorse. Time has passed again, and now I am studying to become a certified allergy-friendly food advisor. This certification proves one has acquired enough knowledge to provide advice on planning and preparing meals for children with allergies. As I cooked allergy-friendly meals for Ava, I decided to study so I could help other parents facing similar challenges. Mom, let's make a cake together. Of course. I'll make you a cake with lots of whipped cream. I plan to lead a calm life from now on, addressing my daughter's allergies and doing the best for her.